We have very increased complexity.
Yeah, you have complexity, but you have money for stock buybacks by the billions, and you guys became billionaires. That doesn't seem too complex to me. Mr. Bancel literally became a billionaire overnight and is now worth over $4 billion. He was also able to secure a golden parachute for himself worth another $926 million after he leaves the company. Should people in our country and around the world get sicker and sometimes die because they cannot afford the outrageous prices that the drug companies are charging? Is it morally acceptable to say, I have a drug here that can cure you, save your life, but I'm sorry you can't afford the $50,000 that it cost? Is that the moral values of the United States of America? The NIH and other federal agencies work with Moderna to research, develop, and distribute the COVID vaccine that so many of our people have effectively used. While Moderna may wish to rewrite history, it is widely acknowledged that both Moderna and the NIH created this vaccine together. U.S. taxpayers spent $12 billion on the research, development, and procurement of the NIH Moderna COVID vaccine. And here is the thank you that the taxpayers of this country received from Moderna for that huge investment. They are thanking the taxpayers of the United States by proposing to quadruple the price of the COVID vaccine to as much as $130 once the government stockpile runs out, at a time when it costs less than $3 to manufacture the vaccine. My question to you is, given the fact that you have made billions of dollars, that your company has made huge profits, on behalf of the taxpayers of this country, will you reconsider your decision to quadruple the price of the vaccine?
So, Chairman Sanders, what we have to do is to deal with the complexity I described, and I'm happy to go into more detail through this hearing. This is not the same product. We used to have 10 doses in each vial. Now we're going to have every vial will have a different dose. This is not the same.
I understand it, but quadrupling the price is huge, and I would hope very much that you will reconsider that decision. It's going to cost the taxpayers of this country billions of dollars. Is that something you can do?
The volume we had during the pandemic gave us economies of scale we won't have anymore.
Am I hearing from you that, in fact, you are prepared not to charge $130 for a vaccine to the U.S. government, but less than that? Is that what I hear?
What I'm saying, Mr. Chairman, is there's a list price. It depends if it's a single-dose product or a pre-filled syringe product. There's a list price around $130. And then with different customers, there are going to be discussions.
But, that's an issue that many have raised. We have no transparency in pricing. It is a totally insane situation. Everybody pays a different price. The United States government helped you develop that vaccine. It is a huge consumer. Are you prepared to substantially charge less for the vaccine to the United States government and our agencies?
Given the situation at hand, Mr. Chairman, we have no idea of the volume that we need this year. We have very increased complexity.
Yeah, you have complexity, but you have money for stock buybacks by the billions, and you guys became billionaires. That doesn't seem too complex to me. Let me ask you this question, at least. The United States pays, the people in our country pay the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs in general, something this committee will work on. Will you at least tell us today that the price you are charging for the vaccine will be lower than what other countries around the world are paying? Or once again, we're going to pay the highest prices?
So, Mr. Chairman, the price will depend on the value in each country. The cost of healthcare is different in each country.
That's not the answer. That's a whole, all right. I'm asking you a simple question. Your vaccine was developed with the help of the United States government. I am asking you whether or not we're going to continue to pay the highest prices in the world for that vaccine. I understand everything is complex, but I also understand you have money for stock buybacks and exorbitant compensation packages for yourself. Will you at least tell the taxpayers of this country that the price we pay for the vaccine will be less than other countries?
I cannot say that the price will be lower than other countries.
All right, let me ask you this. You know, when you talk about value, it's an interesting philosophical concept. In your judgment, what does value mean to a woman who lost her husband because the family cannot afford the price, the outrageous price of a prescription drug? Is that a value that we should consider, or is that a value that we should consider?
We believe in access, Mr. Chairman. And as I said, our products, we're going to work really hard for the uninsured, that they are available for no cost.
And I understand. I'm maybe asking you a broader question than just Moderna. Senator Markey mentioned Pfizer having a cancer drug for $175,000, I believe is what he said. All right?
Another company.
That's another company, of course, I know that. But I'm asking your statement. You talk about value, and the value is, well, we've helped the economy and we've done all these things. True enough. But what about the value of human lives that are lost, or the suffering, while companies make billions and people can't afford the price? Is that a value to be considered?
Of course, Mr. Chairman, we need to work together, industry and the governments and all the players in the healthcare system, to figure out how do we make sure the products are available. I completely agree with you. We work hard to make medicine and to do science to help people.
Alexander Fleming developed penicillin, a huge advance for medicine, saved, what, millions of lives? Frederick Banting sold his intellectual property for $1 for insulin. All right? What do you think about those guys and those scientists who said, you know what, our function in life is to create wonderful drugs that will ease human suffering and save lives, not to become excessively rich? Do you think they were crazy?
I think what they did was very noble. I think what we have to do is to invest in the technology. If we didn't have a technology when the pandemic happened, there would have been no Moderna vaccine, Mr. Chairman.
Look, we all agree that we need the technology, but what I am asking you, and some of my friends here are saying, is that the only thing that motivates you is to become a billionaire.
That's not true.
All right, but then can we have a science where people get paid well? I have no problem with Moderna making money, but you're hearing here massive cash paybacks, you becoming a multi-billionaire. Should we develop a counterculture, perhaps, which says your motive is not just making billions, but developing all of the drugs we need for the terrible diseases that this world faces?
And that's what we're doing, Mr. Chairman. That's why Moderna is a different company. Our number one investment this year is in R&D. As I mentioned, $4.5 billion.
How much do you put in stock buybacks?
Sorry?
How much do you provide in stock buybacks?
We have not decided yet as a board. The number of a stock buyback that's still open is $2.8 billion, I think. Yeah. Our number one priority is R&D. If we could invest more in R&D, we would. The challenge we have is phase 3 studies takes time to happen, Mr. Chairman.
All right, let me ask you this. And again, I'm directing it to you, but it really applies to the whole industry. If we were to say to you, if the government were to say to you, look, we're interested in cures in cancer, obviously, diabetes, all the other, Alzheimer's, all the other terrible illnesses we face. We are prepared to make sure that your company makes a good profit. Maybe you don't become a multi-billionaire, but you make a good profit. And if you develop a cure for that particular disease, you're going to make money on it, but we're going to take the intellectual property and make it available to the whole world so that people all over the world at a very reasonable price will be able to benefit from that discovery. You make money, the world benefits. Everybody affords it. What do you think about that concept?
So what is really hard in this industry, Mr. Chairman, is the risk of failure. Most drugs fail. 90+% of drugs in clinical trial fail, as you are aware. And that's what makes it really, really hard.
But if we said to you,
yeah,
all right, we're going to cover, you're not going to fail, you'll be compensated. All right, we're willing to pay you good money. You're going to get rich, maybe not a multi-billionaire. You'll do very, very well. We'll cover the risk. But if you succeed, that formulation is going to be available to people all over the world so that they can get that drug. We covered the risk. What do you think about that?
I will have to look into the details, Mr. Chairman, because again, the risk is I don't know how you manage the risk. I mean, are you suggesting in that thought process that the government will pay all of R&D of the entire industry?
Yeah, exactly what I'm suggesting.
Oh, okay.
That's the deal. We're going to cover the R&D. You succeed. You're going to make profit, but the product goes all over to the world so that people can afford it.
I think we'll have to understand the details to have an opinion.
See,
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Markey made the point that I think millions of people appreciate. You can come up with all the great drugs in the world. We appreciate that. But if people can't access them, or they go broke, or they go bankrupt having to buy them, it doesn't mean anything to those people. And certainly, by the way, we're talking about America, the wealthiest country on earth. What about Africa and poor people around the world? Should they die because they cannot afford that prescription drug?